Class is in session, your most unconventional class. She talks all things, all subjects. It's the Interdisciplinary Podcast. Hosted by your favorite doctor, this is What's the Say with Dr. Kymrae.
Yes, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is What's the Say with Dr. Kymrae. And I hope everybody is enjoying their day and that you are enjoying the fact that we are about to help you become a 360-degree human being on this show, you know? So as you ride your bicycle down the road, I don't know if you're exercising or if you're even driving to work. Maybe you're driving to work or you're driving home and you're listening to this show, but we appreciate you either way. But today I want to introduce you to this amazing person that I have with me today. I have with me Dr. Momodu Taylor, C. Taylor. Don't forget the C. Momodu C. Taylor. Right? I met this awesome man at Livingstone College, an HBCU that I was working at about 10 to 12 years ago. And he was a student there. And while he was a student, I can't say that we had any real type of relationship there. But years later, get this, y'all, I started my master's degree at the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University, HBCU. And from there, I was reintroduced to this young man when I started the doctoral program, the leadership studies doctoral program, and he later joined me in that same program. So not only was this young man a student while I was an administrator at a college, but he came through the same PhD program as I. But then he showed me up, because let me tell you what he did. He graduated 2 years before me, and I started 2 years before him. But you know what? It's all good, because when you get to that level of education and learning, you know, you're on your own pace. So we finished when we wanted to finish, right? But I just wanted to stop here and just say thank you so much, Dr. T, as I call him, for coming in and joining me today in the What's the Say chat room, if you will. How you doing there, Dr. T?
Doing well, Dr. Kymrae. I see you have on your Columbia blue and black.
Yeah. Wait. So who is this? Who is this that I'm rocking?
A little bit of Livingstone College. You can get life out of a stone at Livingstone.
You got to throw up your LC. LC? Yeah, I had to do it because this is how we know each other. So, you know, I wanted to give back because I know that you're highly, highly involved in their alumni affairs, and you really give back to that institution. And I'm sure that they are very appreciative there of you. Livingstone is a college that I will never forget. I enjoyed my time there, and the culture and the family sense of feeling that you get when you're on that campus beneath thy maples and thy oaks.
Absolutely.
So let's tell them a little bit about you, Dr. T. So I understand that you have your Bachelor's of Arts in History, and that you got from LC, Livingstone College. Then you went to A&T, which is where we obviously met, and you got your Master's of Arts in History Ed, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but so let's talk about your doctoral degree that you got from North Carolina A&T as well. You got your degree in leadership studies, a doctor of philosophy in leadership studies, just like I. But what's your dissertation about? Share with us, because it's kind of interesting.
Yes, I decided to write about Muhammad Ali as a transformational leader, looking at him through the lens of boxing, politics, leadership development, and cultural identity.
Okay. So what were some of the findings, or how can you share with us, us in layman's terms?
Sure, absolutely. In layman's terms, really just in the simplest way of looking at it, you find that leaders are in part a self-creation of the public persona, what you're able to leave people with a lasting impression of. And Ali did a phenomenal job with that. You can see it in his legacy on T-shirts and through popular culture posts today.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he floats like a butterfly and he stings like a bee. That's something that we will never forget. Indeed. Yes. So about your experience, though, let's fast forward into that, because I really want us to get into these topics that we're going to talk about today. So I want to just tell them a little bit about your experience, your background, and what makes you so pivotal and so so necessary in this conversation. So obviously you went to an HBCU, you went to two HBCUs, so you're an HBCU alumni, but you also have had experiences outside of HBCUs in your career. So I understand that you've worked a little bit in housing and residence life. You've worked a little bit as an academic advisor, more to the male students, I
Yeah.
believe, but an academic advisor is all in the same, in my opinion. And then you worked with the athletics, welcome recruitment department or team.
Right. With
So
A&T.
you've worked in
Right.
athletics, you worked as an academic advisor, and then you worked in housing and residence life. But you've also worked in the director of you were the director of
Student
student
involvement
involvement.
at
So
Lenore
you've
Ryan
kind of
University.
worked in student activities, if you will, as well.
Yes.
Planning campus events and how to keep the young folks, the students engaged. And so I would am I wrong if I say that you're kind of on the lines of being more like a student affairs expert professional?
I would say that. I think I've
Mm-hmm.
touched a number of areas in there.
Yes. I mean, yeah, if you were the vice president of student affairs, I would say that you have a pretty well-round um, take on student affairs. Based on your experience already.
Yeah.
And with me being a talent consultant and a people developer on the consulting side, I see that completely. That you could totally be a student affairs director or associate VP or something like that.
Thank you.
So yeah, so it looks like you're well on your way. But I also know that you also have had some experiences in K through 12 too.
Yes. One of the first jobs I had was a public school teacher.
Right. So that makes you even more well-rounded because before students get to college, where are they? They're in
They're
high
either in
school.
the public schools or in the private schools. They're somewhere before they get
Yeah.
there. Absolutely.
So um I understand that that's really good, good skill set to have as well. So that's awesome. What ignites your passion? Like, why higher ed? Why, when we're talking about today's current climate, and when I say today, I mean that from the period that you started studying this
Mhm.
stuff, right? Because it hasn't been that long since you started down this path. So why do you think that with the given um, budget cuts and things like that, what makes higher ed and specifically what I would say student affairs more so passionate for you? Like, why are you passionate about it, or why do you want to make this your career move?
Well, it starts with my experiences, right? Public schools. I wasn't a phenomenal high school student, but I
Really?
got better when I went to college because I was able to structure my life, make my own decisions, get out there and do things the way you want to do them, not the way you've been told to do them.
Mm,
Some people thrive in that environment, other people don't. But I loved being able to see students grow,
yes.
and not only grow from being 18 to 21, 22, and when you graduate, but just that growth of you as a person in between those years of leaving high school and then branching out on your own.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Excellent. Okay. So then, do you think that you will stay on this path of student affairs, or is that kind of yet to be seen based on how the cards and the chips fall? Or are you thinking more about like multicultural affairs, or I say DEI, but I mean diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think that in an ideal structure, they all come together. They go hand in hand. Diversity,
Hmm.
inclusion, equity, engagement, all of those things should be well rounded so that
Yeah,
everyone feels included.
absolutely. I like that. I like that answer because that's very, very true. And I think sometimes we box ourselves into these things, and then we box ourselves into the beliefs of that box,
Mm,
but we're not thinking that 360-degree box, right?
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So let's get into these really deep talking points. And I'm glad that we kind of breezed through your background really well, and we know a lot about you now, but we want to help the people out here. We want to get some conversation going and some real thought provoking communication. So let's talk a little bit. Now I want to dive in a little bit deeper now. I want us to talk a little bit more about um, the American college degree today, right? In
Yeah.
2020, or I'd say in the future past, like 2025, 20, what do you think the American college degree is worth, is or the perceived value? of it today? Is it worth what it always was, or give us some talk on that?
I don't want to go too far with the history background here, but I think that it is constantly revolutionizing itself and changing.
Mhm.
We're increasingly seeing a lot of technology
Mhm.
taking dominance in the field. And what do you do with just an English degree now or just a history degree? You
Right.
don't immediately take a bachelor's degree and run with it and you have that for the rest of your life. You could, but your prospects for multiple jobs and career advancement are lower than they were, let's say, in 1950, 1960.
Right
So
on.
in
Right.
2020, 25, going from now, what are the skills that students need to have? And that's a question that I think even administrators are asking themselves as they're trying to bring in students and craft new curriculum.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, do you think? Well, obviously, we're going through a different period now with COVID-19, and we know that we have to kind of restructure things. And I don't want to get into too much about that because I do want to talk about that next week on our show. But I think that everybody in this industry and every other industry in the globe has to now figure out how to pivot and figure out how to revamp and structure their business model, or how are they going to. So, you know, I think when you say technology, I think those institutions that were already on the plight, they were already on the move, to use technology and embrace technology in every way possible. That means registration for classes, that means online classes or flipped, classrooms. Sometimes it's in, sometimes it's out. That to me, those institutions might be a little bit better off because of the technology situation. And the COVID situation rather. So how do you think that the college degree will fit in today's or the futures America, the future of America? Because I know you and I have some we have some real serious conversations on our phones. We text message a lot, we talk a lot on the phone, and we have some real serious conversations about higher education and even and I don't want to get too much into, like, we're not bashing higher education. We love higher education, right? But
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I am also a realist and a person that gives the authenticity of things. And so I don't want to put you in a bad position, Doc, but I want us to talk about the fact that, I have um, a problem per se with the fact that we as higher educators, right? We the when budget cuts happen to education first, generally.
Always, every time.
Always, right? So with that, what do you think happens to the people that work at these institutions, right? They're then not able to travel to these conferences and get all this new information and to be professionally developed. It's called professional development. But if you can't afford it, or you can only go to the local conference that may not be as good as that one in California, then what are you bringing back? What are you growing from? How are you developing? And then how is that impacting your students? Are they still giving them that old stuff that they've known for 20 years? Of
Yeah.
course they are. How can they develop if you don't develop them because you don't have the funding to do it?
Mhm.
Right? So that was always my little beef with being an administrator or being in administration at an institution. I kind of, wanted to feel like I was being invested in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And it's even harder now with the immediate impacts of having to stay at home, right? Safer
Yeah.
at home orders, and looking at this new school year and having to revamp the
Yeah.
schedule to come in earlier and leave before Thanksgiving, as most schools are looking to do.
Right.
And it's really going to be a different place because
Yes.
you can't charge the same amount if you're not there for the same amount of time. It's like if you have a
Ah,
rent for your house, you're
look
paying
at
for
that.
your dormitory, you're paying for the food, you're paying for the board, you're paying all these different things that,
Right.
like you said, people are having to change their business model.
Well, and
And
that's going to impact these schools.
yeah,
I mean, will some of them be able to survive these smaller schools, like you said, right? Like will they be able to stay afloat because they may not have that huge endowment?
That's true. That
Yeah.
is true. So we're looking to see what we can do, especially with like schools like HBCUs who don't have these large endowments of,
Yeah.
really just a plethora of alumni who are just giving, giving, giving all year long,
Yes.
large amounts of money, and it also comes to some of the other things that I think we're going to discuss
Right.
with we're getting certain degrees in different fields, majority of our schools being liberal arts colleges. What's
Yes.
the value of that degree? What jobs are you getting once you graduate with that?
Okay, so let's talk about that then. What's so these liberal arts degrees are they're pretty much obsolete now, or are they bringing them back to kind of make them interdisciplinary, or like my podcast is interdisciplinary?
I wouldn't say that they're obsolete, but I think that they're increasingly interdisciplinary.
And what does that
Large,
mean?
well, you have to be able to do multiple things. Most
I
people
know, but
don't
I want
work.
the world to know.
Okay, well, I'll explain a little. Most people don't work in the field that they've gotten their degree in. That's
Hmm.
just out there statistically. Most people will get a degree in one thing, but hopefully the transferable skills that they learned are able
Yes.
to help them, have a change of career, maybe once, twice, three, four times, for in some cases. So to be able to do that, you have to be able to think outside the box, which is what liberal arts education was always about. Being
Hmm.
able to think outside the box, think in ways that people who are looking at exact numbers wouldn't. And those are the type of things that technology companies like Apple, Google,
Right.
they want those people.
You
But
think so?
they do.
So these tech, well, you named tech firms. So I'm just going to go off of tech, but it's probably other organizations that you're
Oh,
referring to,
businesses,
right? You
everything.
just,
Yes.
yes. Um, so they find value, that these organizations find value in the fact that these students, they come out with a very dynamic degree. Is
Yes.
that mm-hmm. Okay. So they don't necessarily want one like expert in blah this.
Well, that's another area of concern because, like you said, we were at North Carolina A&T, school heavily known for its STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math degrees. And there are a lot of people getting great jobs in those. Some people
Yes.
do want very specific engineering type degrees, and those people are getting high salaries. We can't lie about those numbers. We can't fudge that. But
Sure.
what else can you do that can get you there? And it won't be nearly as fast. And
Right.
that's part of the question that students have if you're a recruiter. If you're a recruiter, you used to be a recruiter,
Yes.
bringing students in. If I'm a parent, I
Yeah.
want to know, well, when do I get the return on this investment? And we want to continually do things to put our students in the best position to give them a return because ultimately that return comes right back to the institution
Oh
once they
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So where are we? What are we so giving back. We probably need to do more of that. Well, when we're talking about from an HBCU level, right? Like we need to do better with that because, like you say, some small schools that are not HBCUs, they have an endowment though. They've got a
Right.
well, everyone has an endowment, but a large endowment, right?
Mhm.
You know, and we need to do better at HBCUs with that culturally, right?
Right. And it starts with what we're able to produce of our students when they first leave.
When they
You
leave,
feel better about giving back if you made some money.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we're
But so when you come out with a liberal arts degree though, right? We're talking liberal arts, right? Because that's
the majority. I mean, HBCUs were, preaching and teaching schools initially, most of them.
yes, because that's originally how they were founded, and so that same traditional program exists.
Yes.
Um, but I just wonder if business today uh still values those those same degrees, you know?
They do. And there was a guy who wrote a book once called The Surprising Power of a Useless Liberal Arts Education. He went through a number of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't talking about HBCUs in particular,
Uh-huh.
but it was applicable to almost any student at any university, any college. And there are ways you can get it going, but you have to sell it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we taught at Livingstone was that we were going to defy the odds. There were going to be a lot of
Yes.
things that were against you, but how could you, put yourself in the best competitive position? And it is competitive. We can't run from that aspect of education. And that's where really my passion is. We were talking about it earlier. Being a high school teacher, you're teaching students all the time about rigorous education, how to compete.
Yes.
So always I'm thinking, all right, well, what do I need to do to help motivate you? And it changed me as a person being a
Mm.
public school teacher because everybody didn't want to go to college. And me having gone to college, I didn't understand, but there are other things you can do. I mean, you could be a plumber, you could be an electrician
A trade.
without being an electrical engineer,
Yeah.
right? So there's plenty of things that you could do and make a decent amount of money without going to college. Although I was always a proponent of that, not just for the degree, but for the experience.
Experience. Yeah, those 4 years, if you don't use your degree, you're still experiencing a timeless, valuable thing that you can't put a price tag on.
Right. And it helps, really help you think in different ways.
Yeah.
You might meet someone that tells you about things that you just never thought before. It opens your brand new outlook on the world.
Right, right. And you meet people from all over the country, whereas when you were at high school, you might have been the biggest fish in the pond, but in this ocean over here, you're just, it puts things in a totally different light for you. And you grow up. You experience. I have a friend who I went to high school and middle school with that I saw randomly last week, and he was telling me, he was like, "You're just different. You're just different." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Man, when people go away to college and then they return, they're different." He's like, "There's just a difference in you. You carry yourself differently. You talk differently. You're just on a different frequency." That's what he said. He said,
Mm,
"It's not necessarily a level. I don't use level." He said, "But you're on a different frequency." And I
I
was
like
like,
that
wow, I'm going to use that from now on.
frequency.
A different frequency. So, so back to what do you think though, these majors though, that outside of a liberal arts degree, that colleges and institutions could be offering, that are uh, will permit a competitive salary or a comfortable lifestyle? Because
Sometimes,
teachers come out with a degree. Teachers have to get their masters, if they want to make a little more money.
right.
um Even you and I, hello, we went and got our PhDs, but
This is
we're
true.
not making what a medical physician makes,
This
right?
is true.
But we went through all this schooling because society has said, if you want to be in higher education, administration, or any type of leadership position that is not that is within, like, uh some philosophical, or I don't know, because I don't want to be an I don't want to be in higher education administrator. Not today, I don't. Maybe 20 years from now, I come back and be a president. But that's not why I got my PhD. So, but for most people, it's because they want to, be scholars, or they want to be an administrator, senior administrator at some college or university.
Mhm.
So, but the thing is, we're talking about salaries for our alumni, our young people when they graduate undergrad, right? But
Right.
but we also have to think about the lifestyle and the salaries of the employees of these institutions. Are they are it's seemingly, from my experience and in my readings, that there's a huge gap. Like, so it goes from, when you're entry level at a college, you're making next to poverty, right?
Right.
um but then there's this, like, there's no middle class in the salaries. It goes from, like, next to poverty to, like, six figures when you make it to the top.
Right.
So it's
We were
like,
talking about that. Yeah.
absolutely. So share your thoughts on that.
I think it's reflective of a wider societal problem. Where we're
Hmm.
talking about the gap between wealth and poverty in America widening and widening, tax cuts for the rich. It's a microcosm of
Yeah.
a larger issue, and you have professionals who are coming in, let's say as a residence hall director, and they may say master's degree preferred for whatever
Yes.
reason, which in a position that never was master's degree preferred
Yes.
traditionally. But now you're a step away from a doctoral degree, making what 30, maybe 40,000 at a larger school. And if you go from there, hopefully gain years of experience, and maybe you'll get to a comfortable living wage. When we say comfortable, like, be able to buy a house, start a
Yes.
family, and not be struggling to feed that family.
Yeah.
There is a wide gap that does need to be re-examined.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's so many things that we could sit here and like just list that need fixing, you know? And you hate to be like the Debbie Downer, and you don't want to sound like you're being negative to your industry or your sector, because you're not, and I'm not trying to be. But I also think that that's a big problem. I really can't understand, how one is pretty much, not given any other option if they want to be in a leadership position, that they have no other choice but to do that. But it costs a lot of money to get your degrees. Okay. So unless you're still getting full rides in that higher level, which is very hard to get the higher you go, they're not just handing those out at that point, because they expect you to do what? They expect you to have a career and the ability to pay for it yourself. Right.
Right.
And that's not how it works.
A lot of assumptions. I mean, even with student loans, the assumption is once you finish your bachelor's degree that you're going to have a job
Yeah.
that allows you to pay down. I mean, what on average in some places is $80,000 of debt, and over a couple more years it'll be 100,000 with the interest piling on top of it.
Right.
So that's it's an issue that we're just rolling over the debt, and it's very again symptomatic of a wider societal issue where we're just rolling on top of debt like
Absolutely.
the federal government.
I
It's
know.
and waiting
It's
for a
all like
bailout.
in
We
a
can't do it.
circle, full
Right.
circle. Oh my gosh, just a mess. So we're coming to a close on our chat here. So I wanna ask you before I go though, if you have any final thoughts, or if there's anything that perhaps you brought to the table today that I did not ask, or I missed, or that you feel like that we really should touch on. Go for it, because we have, I'm not rushing you. We have a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I think just that you know higher education is just as relevant today as it was before COVID-19, and it's going to
Hmm.
continue to be relevant after we get this vaccine and everything
Yeah.
gets back to some form of normalcy.
Yeah.
But we do have to reevaluate the cost of education and the return of investment once we bring students into it.
Yeah.
We want students to be able to leave and be able to have gainful employment, not be
Right.
trying to
Right.
find ways around paying the loan, because the idea is that you should be able to pay it. That was the whole idea of the exit counseling that they make you do.
Yes.
It's all these assumptions and numbers that you don't have. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, my entertainment will be this, my X will be that, and I should be able to pay this many hundreds every month. We need to make that a reality and
Right.
manageable. And it
We
starts
probably
with,
need to also, Doc, though, we need to make sure as institutions that when we are building our programs, or even deciding as a board, or as a cabinet, if we should keep certain programs, that are they provide, like, what are the outcomes for our students? Are they providing outcomes, successful outcomes can be negative or bad. So successful outcomes, are they providing that to our students? And if we can't be honest with ourselves and say that, then perhaps we need to remove, some of those programs that might be on their way out into being a little bit obsolete, right?
right. And I mean, obsolete is always a relative term.
Sure.
Computer science keeps changing. So the
Yeah.
certifications you can pick up now might be obsolete 2 or 3 years from now. Like with Amazon, they have to recertify every 3 years, and you don't need a degree to get that certification. But that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the highest paying jobs out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have to continue to try to stay relevant
Yes.
and be trendsetters.
Absolutely. Good. I like that. Trendsetters. Yes. Good. Well, I really enjoyed you. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully, we'll get to have you come back and join us. I'm sure the viewers and the listeners really enjoyed this as well. And we really appreciate your time. And I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I appreciate you, Dr. Kymrae. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll be in touch, and you stay plugged in, stay in the game. Don't let nobody take you out. Stay in the game like Muhammad Ali told you to do. Peace, brother.
Thank you.